Hello and hello. Right, at the moment we've got 87 participants. I think we can start things off now. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Yasmin Alice and I'm going to be your host today. I'm a qualified lawyer in England and an actress and a reporter. And today's topic is public speaking. And I can tell you that public speaking is very important for me. I'm originally from Istanbul, and today we have people from all over the world joining us in this Zoom session that we have planned for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. But first of all, we're going to have a little chat about who is WeVoi? What do we do? What about the competitions? We're going to find out all about these. And then when I'm going to introduce to you guys our amazing guest, Susie Ashfield. You can see her up there in the video as well. Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Hi. But before we start, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think public speaking is important? And why? Let's see some answers in the comments section below. The question of today is, can we change the world with the power of public speaking? Right? And our amazing guest, Susie, is going to let us know the importance of public speaking, and she's going to give us a few tips and tricks about public speaking. Let's see some answers. Yes, yes, yes. It's important to be able to express yourself and draw in like-minded people. Our friend Ferit says, yes, we can, because some messages can enter our hearts, says David Weber. Right. And Emma says, yes, because that way we want fear to express your opinions. What an amazing answer. Can we think of some young public speakers? Please write them in the comment section below. My favorite is always Greta Thunberg. For example, Malala Yousafzai, the author of I Am Malala, an amazing young activist, public speaker. We've got Naomi Zeibt, a climate change activist from Germany. Ayaka Melithafa, South African climate activist. Melati Vishsen, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, an Indonesian activist and the founder of Bye Bye Plastics. She's also 19 years old now. And we've got Zia Bastida from Mexico. Again, a climate change activist. Climate change is so important these days. Andre says Malala. Yes, Malala is a huge influence of today's time. Right. Let me tell you guys what is WeVoi. WeVoi is a groundbreaking online public speaking competition for young people eager to voice their ideas and make a change. And that is you guys, right? This challenge provides a platform for speakers aged 10 to 19 to realize their potential, raise their voice, and share it with others. That could be you guys. I'm talking to you. At WeVoi, we appreciate public speaking. We let you guys speak your mind and share your thoughts on an international online platform, right? This is all online. You don't even have to go anywhere. What do you gain from this competition? Confidence and new skills. And this competition is open to everyone all over the world. There are two stages of this competition, WeVoi National and WeVoi Global. Both are conducted online, as I said, so you don't even have to travel anywhere. You can be in your living room, you could be in your bedroom if you want, or you could even be in your kitchen, but preferably, please don't join in the competition in your bathroom because there might be a little bit echo, right? So you all have a chance to participate in WeVoi National at no cost. You don't even have to pay anything, it's totally free. And there are two age groups, right? Two different age groups. And every year, there's a different theme. What happens in the end of the competition? First of all, you win a certificate of participation, which is amazing. You can add that to your university applications, check. And the top 5 in each age category can earn a monetary award. I mean, you can make money by joining in this competition and going in the top 5, which is amazing. Right. Successful speakers in WeVoi National also have the opportunity to present their winning speech in their own countries. Who knows? You might just be the next young and famous activist. You could be the next Greta Thunberg, right? If you've got any amazing opinions that you want to share with the world, this could be you. Right. If you simply want to improve your public speaking and communication skills, then this is the perfect opportunity for you. What is our aim at WeVoi? Right. Our aim is to give you guys, the students, a platform to express your ideas and inspire others. We believe that every young person has the capacity to change the world, like Malala or like Greta Thunberg. And we can help you do this through WeVoi by meeting people from different backgrounds, different cultures. As you can see, we've got people from all over the world, right? We've got people from Indonesia, we've got people from South Africa. You can meet new people and you can gain new experiences that you will cherish forever. This is a platform for self-discovery, so use it wisely. And I urge you to check out the competitions and compete with us. Who knows, you might be the next winner. Okay, can I please see in the chat, do we have anyone who thinks they might win WeVoi Global? Anyone? I'm looking at the chat box now. If you think you might just win the next, oh, okay, Savine Mohammed says me. Lamia says maybe, okay. And Martina says, I'll do my best. That's an amazing way to think. Me. Perhaps says Kostika Maria. Yes, guys, you might just win. Who knows? Okay. I want to introduce you guys our amazing guest, Susie Ashfield. But before that, let's watch a short video together.
Speaker as well as a public speaking coach, and I've helped clients all around the world do their best when it comes to delivering awesome talks, speeches and addresses. And today I would love to share with you some ideas I have as to how you can make the most of your time on the WeVoi program. First of all, congratulations for being part of this. Communication is such an important thing, and a lot of adults, and I meet them on a daily basis, are still really terrified of addressing audiences. So what you guys are doing is really important for your careers, and the more you practice this stuff, the better you are going to get. This is a real foundation for learning, and you are only going to get better and better. So there are some brilliant speakers out there who we can look at and see what they're doing and really assess why they're coming across as well as they do. One of my favorites is, of course, Barack Obama. Why did we like him? He was warm, he was friendly, he was authentic, he was genuine, but he was a really powerful, slow, strong speaker. Take a little moment now as I'm speaking to think about the kind of people you admire as speakers. If you don't know who you like, I suggest you get on the TED Talks app. There are loads of brilliant TED Talks out there, and there is guaranteed to be something that you really like the look and the sound of. Once you have found a speaker you really like, keep following that individual. What is it that they're doing that makes you so engaged with what they are saying? So let's talk about probably just 3 things I want to look at that I think are going to be really useful for you guys in the WeVoi program. Number 1, it is still hugely underrated, but body language, vocal impact are some of the most powerful tools you have. Some people come up with brilliant speeches and they write loads and loads and loads of information, and you read that piece of paper and it can sound great. But if you stand up and read it in a really monotone voice and you don't make eye contact and you're not engaging with anybody the side of the screen or the audience, then no one is going to want to listen to what it is you have to say. Weirdly, it works the same way around as well. Think of some politicians. Sometimes they don't have a lot to say, but they deliver with such a powerful tone and the body language is so strong, they somehow keep you engaged. So the body language is really important. When you've got a group of people who are watching you, make sure you make eye contact with them. And now I know we're in a strange time right now, so you're doing a lot of stuff through the screen, but those same rules still apply. Look at my face. Through this video, I'm going to be smiling a lot more than I would in real life, because I know that if I'm smiling this side of the screen, the people the other side of the screen are likely to be smiling right back at me. I'm also using my hands a little bit more as well. There's a cultural scale for that, but generally, hand movement is a good thing. If you're worried it's going too far, Ask somebody to look at a recording you've got and ask them, is my hand movement too distracting, or is it about right? Second tip, when it comes to putting together information in your speech, I really don't mind how you hit the subject you've got. What I'm always looking for in a speaker is, what have they got about them that is different? To what extent do they stand out? How do they differentiate themselves from, 100 other speakers? And if you want to make sure you are different, it is as simple as being yourself. And I know that sounds a little bit like a cliche, but you would be amazed the amount of times I see speakers that just sound like a copy of the next person, of the next person, of the next person. So don't be afraid to look at your subject matter and go, what is it that I feel about this? How do I feel about the information? Why do I think this information is important? Keep that piece of information really short. And if you know why you're there when you're standing up and speaking, you will engage with your audience basically every single time. And if you don't know what I mean, think about adverts. How do adverts grab hold of people's attention? Well, the good adverts keep it short, they keep it simple, they keep their messages clear and concise, and if they can, they get people to laugh or they get people to feel something. How are you going to make sure that you do the same thing with whatever your subject matter is? Next thing I want you to consider is, it doesn't matter how good the speech is, how good the body language is, it all comes down to how much you have practiced this. Now, of course, back when we had live audiences, that was a whole different ballgame. What you've got now is communicating through a screen. When you're communicating through a screen, there are a few things you need to consider. Slow it down. That is the piece of advice I find myself giving time and time and time and time again. And I work with people who are really top of companies or directors or really important guys, and they are still going super fast. If you are a naturally quick speaker, that's okay. What I would suggest instead is this. Put pauses. Put pauses into the information you are delivering, and suddenly you will find you are forcing yourself to slow it down. Now, that's going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to make sure that you don't mess up and you don't get the word order wrong, you don't forget what you're going to say, and you don't get the brain freeze. But two, going to give your audience time to really think about the words that you are saying as you deliver them. So the pause is a win-win. Use it liberally. Speaking of which, if you don't know how fast you are speaking, there is something that the online technology can offer you that even the offline stuff can't. You can practice this stuff. So what I would suggest is, when you want to get your speech really good and you know what you want to say and you know how you want to say it, it is time to make a recording via Zoom, via iPhone, via whatever you are using, and play it back to yourself. And I would play it back to yourself in 3 ways. The first time you play back your speech, take the sound off. Take the sound off so you are just looking at the visual image. How is the body language? Are you smiling enough? Are you making enough eye contact? Are you nodding along? Are you doing anything unusual that looks like it shouldn't be there? If you've got a swinging chair, is the urge to swing on that chair just too overwhelming and you find you're moving across the screen? And again, I have seen that happen. So really look at yourself, play back, look at the visual image that you are sending across and work out what you want to get better at. Second time you watch that, take the image away. Just listen to yourself. Shut your eyes and listen to the words you are using and the way you say them. Are you going too quickly? There isn't really such a thing as going too slow. Is the information clear enough? Is the purpose of your message strong enough? Are you using too much detail? And if you want to know the answer to that one, another top tip, less is always more. I would rather see a really good speech that happened in 6 minutes and the message was clear than a speech that was 12 minutes and I'm not sure what that speaker was saying, or 20 minutes, or half an hour, or an hour. So never be afraid of being concise and never be afraid of coming under time. Being under time is not a problem. Being over time, a little bit more difficult. So try and avoid that if you can. Third time you watch your speech back, play the whole thing all together, sit back, relax, and try and see yourself as the audience will see yourself. Work out the changes you want to make, look at how you're coming across, and really work out who you want to be when you deliver this speech. Does it sound authentic to who you are? That was something Obama really had. He wasn't afraid of making little mistakes. He wasn't afraid of making little errors. What he delivered was him. And again, that's what I'm looking for in a really good speaker. Don't worry about losing your place. Don't worry about stuttering or stammering. Those things aren't a problem. All I'm looking for is something that is genuine to who you are. That's it. So don't be afraid of failure. Keep practicing. Keep getting it better. If you don't like the content, you are welcome to change it and make sure you have that message down. Again, the more you do this stuff, the better you get. If you start to get a little bit nervous in the run up to a speech, remember that that is totally normal. Totally normal. And that happens in adults from all sorts of industries all across the world. But if you do find the nervousness is building, just go, okay, it's normal for me to be nervous, accept it, and try and focus on the words you are saying instead. Guys, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you have any questions, please do. My name is Susie Ashfield, and I'm always on hand to help young, exciting, and inspiring speakers. So good luck to you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you very soon.
So guys, how amazing was that video? Can everyone hear me? Am I muted? Yes, you can hear me. Guys, how amazing was that video? And also, when Susie was saying, oh, have you smiled? Because she was smiling. Who was smiling at the same time? I was definitely smiling when she was smiling. Me. Yeah, everyone is saying me, right? The power of public speaking. Also, I want to answer some of the private questions that I have received. Guys, we have 100 people limit, so we're not going to be able to accept any more participants. But this video is going to be available on social media. We're going to inform you all, and we're going to try our best to upload this video on YouTube. So don't worry if your students or your friends are not able to join us today. Right. And I've received some other private messages, but I'm going to reply to them in a minute. First of all, thank you so much for joining us, Susie. Susie is an experienced public speaker, coach. Obviously, she's going to share with us tips and tricks to improve our public speaking skills. Even I'm learning so much about this, and particularly how to express our ideas eloquently and to communicate them easily. So what Susie Ashfield does, she's a voiceover artist, she's a personal impact coach, and she's got a background as a professional trainer at NATO, Disney, London Business School, as well as being a TED Talk speaker. Right, how amazing is that? And if you've got any questions for her, please write them, put them onto everyone. Do not message me privately, guys. Write them in the chat box so that everyone can see them. Hi, Susie.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. What a long introduction was that, right?
It was great. I loved it.
So what part of the world are you joining us today?
Well, I am normally in London, England, but today I'm actually in the countryside of England in Norfolk.
Right.
So,
I'm also normally in London, but unfortunately, because of lockdown, I'm not able to come back home. How's the weather over there?
Fine, quite sunny, thank you.
Right, I've received so many private messages today about fear. So my first question is going to be about public speaking and how to overcome fear. Do you have any advice for those who are shy?
Absolutely. Fear is probably the main thing I get asked by my clients, and there are loads of ways to deal with it. You have to decide whether it's a physical problem or whether it's a psychological problem. But the first thing before you do that, before you do anything, is realize that fear is normal. If you do not feel your heart rate increasing and the blood flowing through you before you stand up and address an audience, there is something medically wrong with you. So you should feel a little bit frightened, accept that that's fine. Think of it a little bit like there are two different types of people who get on a roller coaster. One group gets on a roller coaster, they're absolutely terrified, they get off, they love it, they want to go again and again and again and again. One group get on the same roller coaster, they're terrified, they hate it, they never want to go ever, 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 ever again. Both of those groups, regardless of whether they loved it or hated it, had to feel fear. So my top tip is to embrace the fear. Know that feeling nervous is normal. Other than that, one of the physical things you can do is make sure your breathing is really slow. So get those breaths really long and deep. Psychologically, ask yourself, what's the worst that's going to happen? You might muck it up completely, but that's not going to have any impact in you long term. And trust me, I've mucked it up completely, and some of my clients have mucked it up completely. There's nothing to be frightened of when you just talk yourself through it.
I want to give an example from myself. I mean, I've been in a play in West End. I've done TV reporting live on national TV in Turkey, and I've messed up. Like, I've made huge mistakes. I've forgotten the name of the person that I was interviewing. I've been scared. I was trembling in front of the camera. These things happen, guys. So if you're afraid to do public speaking, that is completely normal. Right. David Vepe wants to ask you a question. He says, how did you start public speaking?
Hi, David. Good question. At school, I really liked drama and English and all of the subjects where you had to talk out loud. I even liked reading out loud in front of my class. That was something I really loved. So it's something I really enjoyed doing. Then after school, I went to drama school and I liked doing radio plays the most. And I realized there was something about the words and the content that was really calling my name. After that, and here's a kind of a real insider secret to you, I just started telling people that I was going to do public speaking, and bizarrely, people started employing me to do exactly that. Because if you enjoy public speaking, what you have to realize is you are in a really small minority. Most people really don't like this stuff. They're really frightened of it. They really don't want to do it. So if you like this stuff, and if you think you could be good at this stuff, people will really give you their time because they're so invested in people who are able to competently address crowds. So to answer your question, I just started telling people that this is what I was doing. People started employing me to do it, and I just got better and better the more I did it.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make a comment as well. For example, my mother tongue is also not English, and in these competitions, there are people joining to these competitions from all over the world. Language can also be a barrier, right? But how can they make the speech better, even though English is not their mother tongue?
If you are speaking in a language that is not your mother tongue, that is incredible. You are doing something that is even more complex and exciting than somebody who is speaking in their natural voice. For some reason, when you relearn a language, you almost learn it better than a native speaker would. What happens there is you tend to speak quite quickly. And this is just coming from my experience. And I've worked with clients who do not have English as their first language. They are so good at English, they talk quicker than they should be. So if you are speaking, and I think you're smiling, does it sound familiar?
Yes, it does. I've been told to slow down many times.
Then there you have your answer. If it's not your first language, keep it slow. Use those pauses liberally.
Right. Issa wants to ask you a question. Is it hard to stay focused all the time? Like, isn't it hard not forgetting some important things?
That feeling of fear is adrenaline. So adrenaline is helpful and it's not helpful. If you think about running a race and you start shaking, that's because your body is going, okay, you need this chunk of adrenaline to push you to do really well. Sometimes that puts a bit of a fuzz over your brain. The best way to make sure you don't forget what you are saying is not to try and learn a script. Unless you're an actor, don't do that, because otherwise it'll come across as a little bit robotic. Instead, just practice. And every single time you stand up and say it, it will be a little bit different, and that's fine. But the more you practice this, the more confident you will feel. And I promise you, you won't forget where you are going with this. And I have had clients and myself, I've had to do speeches that are an hour, 2 hours, and you practice, practice, practice. But don't worry about forgetting bits, because unless your audience has access to your script, they're going to have no idea that you forgot out a section or a question or a comment. So don't worry about it. Don't obsess about it. Just keep moving through to your conclusion. That's it.
Amazing. Maria wants to ask you a question.
Sure.
How did you start to work with NATO and Disney?
Yes, very good. Well, most of these companies, regardless of how big and important they are, still have communication areas that they would like to get better at. So I work with people who are incredibly intelligent, but sometimes they are not as good as communicating as they would like to be. So what I go and do in companies like that it's a simple question of coming in and teaching them how to express themselves in a way that not just they understand internally within their company, but audiences across the world get. If you look at Disney, there are some brilliant storytellers. That's what Disney do, right? They sell stories. But actually, sometimes the corporate side of that company forgets that they have to keep telling those stories to each other. And that's all I'm paid to do, believe it or not, within those two organizations. For Disney, it's more about telling stories, building in the journey, making things feel magical. And for an organization like NATO, it's more about getting clear, concise communication in a very short space of time across. How did I get to work with those agencies? Essentially, both of them reached out to me. They are looking for people to work with, and they came through a couple of agencies I had, and they like me and they keep using me, but they're fantastic clients and fantastic experiences.
Guys, do you want to work for Disney and NATO as well in the future? Please write it in the chat box. We would love to know. Our friend Nezreen, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Nezreen, has asked a brilliant question. She wants to know how to deal with our accent if it is not that good. I want to know about this as well, because I'm also a foreigner in the UK.
Accents are brilliant. And actually within the UK, we have a huge variety of accents. You get people from Scotland who can't be understood by people, say, from Cornwall. You've got Irish accents, you've got Mancunian accents. So don't worry about an accent. Now, my accent is completely neutral. There is nothing interesting in it. That's because my voice is often used to advertise things like potatoes and toilet paper. So it has to be completely neutral and it has to sound like this. But really, what a lot of people are looking for in these modern times is something or someone with an interesting accent. We love interesting accents. And an accent isn't a problem as long as, again, you are going slowly and adding in those pauses. If you talk too quickly with an accent, that's when there's a problem. But if you're speaking slowly, adding in pauses, it's just going to build into that unique personality that I'm looking for in really good speakers. So don't worry about it.
In summary, can we say, for example, we have to do a very important speech. We don't have to have a neutral British or an American accent.
Oh, no, you don't have to have, no, just be yourself. Don't try and put on any accent that isn't you. And as long as you are going slowly and speaking clearly, you will be understood.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to read a question from Kostika Maria. How can I erase the feeling like I've been in a public speaking international contest and we had to participate as a team? For one test, we had to speak about a country and I forgot all the speech, which before I knew it perfectly. Sounds like...
I'm just reading it through.
Yeah. You got scared?
What I would say is this, it happens, and it happens to so many people. You have to move on from it. I have had clients who have had very similar experiences. In fact, let us talk about Elon Musk. Billionaire Elon Musk, he's just given his child a very strange name. Stuff goes wrong, guys. Elon Musk recently had to present his new bulletproof car. And during his speech, he took a hammer and he wanted to demonstrate how bulletproof the car was. And he put the hammer through the window of the car, not once, but twice, okay? So we can safely say that that presentation didn't go at all how he wanted it to go. That didn't impact him as a public speaker at all. His share price dropped briefly and then it recovered. And in fact, he sold more of those cars on that day than he thought he would. Do you think he is lying awake in bed at night worrying about the time he put hammers through his cars? Absolutely not. Stuff like that happens. The brain freeze will happen, and it's more common than not. All I can say is you probably did a much better job than you think you did. Move on from it. Don't let it affect you the next time, and keep on practicing, keep on going. And next time, just go slowly. Make sure you keep breathing. Make sure you're in a calm state of mind, and it will get better every single time you do it.
Right. Kostika has replied to you, and the messages all the time I get on the stage, I have the flashback. How can we move on? Hussein wants to know, a lot of people want to know, how do we move on?
It's in your control. It's your choice whether you lie awake at night thinking about it and go, oh no, it was so embarrassing. It was the worst thing that happened to me. Or you go, you know what? That happened. It wasn't great, but it doesn't matter. No one else is thinking about it. No one else is lying awake worrying about it. And I won't do it next time. You have to keep kind of fighting back at that. It's a little bit like, imagine you are on Instagram and you're scrolling through Instagram, and suddenly you see an advert. We see those adverts on Instagram all the time, right? It's your choice at that moment. You can either ignore the advert and keep on scrolling and keep on focusing on what you're doing, or you open the advert, you go onto the website, you have a shop around, you lose an hour of your time, you spend another hour thinking about that. Just ignore it. Just move on. Stay focused. Don't dwell on the problem. Dwell on the solution. And that is going to take some time and some effort, but keep pushing through and keep going. You know what? It happened. Who cares?
Amazing. I'm trying to do the exact same thing when I first started to do work as a TV reporter for our national TV channel. I was interviewing a politician and I forgot his name. And I was so embarrassed, and all of the internet was coming for me. Everybody was making fun of me. But the moment I started to make fun of myself, I was happier. So Kostika, if you're getting flashbacks, you know what, girl? You can move on from this, and you can tell yourself next time you're going to be the best of what you can be. Right, let's have another question. A very interesting question. Is it good and professional to pause and drink something like water when giving a long speech?
I don't think it adds anything to you as a professional, but it might help if you're experiencing a dry mouth. So it's not going to make you look more cool. Equally, it's not going to make you look less cool or less professional, but it does help keep the mouth moving. And if you've got a microphone, it stops that kind of popping noise. So keep drinking water if you like to do it. And absolutely, if you need to force yourself to pause, challenge yourself. Have a glass of water in front of you and you go, right, by the end of the speech, that's going to be gone. And you will force yourself to pause by drinking water.
Yeah, better than fainting.
Definitely better than fainting.
Yeah. A very important question I want to bring to you. What are the differences between delivering a speech online and in person?
That's a really good question, and I'm being asked that a lot. The difference is everything and nothing. So let me explain that. Everything is different. Here I am. Apparently I'm talking to 100 people. I can't see any of you, but I know you're there. So I'm trying to stay slow, and I'm trying to use my hands, and I'm trying to do all the things I would normally do if I was addressing an audience in real life. What I would say is this: the difference for me here is that I've had a little bit of a practice. I've seen how I look on Zoom. I've tried to kind of work out the lighting. I've worked out what I want to say, how my hands look. Am I using them too much? Am I using them too little? And I'm smiling a little bit more than I would do in real life. So keep smiling. So everything and nothing is the answer to that.
Amazing. Our friend Sophia Husseinli wants to know, how can you make a speech short if you want to say a lot of things? Make them more compact. Sometimes I'm starting to talk so much that people are annoyed. So how can I make it shorter, but put there everything I want to say?
Great question. And it's actually something everyone deals with. This is something I have with CEOs of big companies and directors. Everybody wants to know the same thing. Here is my challenge to you. Think of all the information you have, and now imagine you know a 6-year-old kid, and you have to explain that information to a 6-year-old in a way that the 6-year-old understands and stays engaged with. You wouldn't include everything because they've got very short attention spans. They go off and do something else. So you just have to give a high-level overview. A similar metaphor is, how would a news reporter report this? What is the headline of your speech? Your audience are probably only going to remember one thing from the entire talk. And this is with my clients who are doing TED Talks. It's the same thing with them. What is the one thing you want them to remember? Get that across, and then everything else is just noise. Cut back on that. You don't need it.
Amazing. Okay, our friend Alexandra Ganeshku, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I don't think I am. What if you're put on the spot and you have so many ideas and you don't know what to say first?
Give yourself time. I mean, I just did it then. You gave me so many ideas and I had to kind of stop and think. Stop, think, tell them that's what you're doing and say, I've got so many ideas. Let me just pause for a moment. Mm-hmm. And that pause is only going to make you sound more confident. So you kind of hold back, take a deep breath and go right and categorize it in. You have to ask yourself, I've got loads of ideas here. What is the one thing this audience wants to hear? Not which idea do I think is the most important. Which idea is this audience that I have here going to love the most? And that's the one you go with first. But slow it down, give yourself thinking time.
Mm-hmm. Susie, let's talk about strategies a little bit. We're giving a big speech and we want to grab the attention of the audience. What strategies can we use?
This is a very cultural question. If you've got an American audience, they go for a big show. You could drop balloons from the sky. I'm British, we would question something like that. I will always encourage my clients to open with a statement that encapsulates their entire speech. So sometimes they will say, I want to tell you today how I intend to make this company $4 million in the next month. Everyone in that room is going to be listening. Everyone is going to be waiting for the next word. Or I'm going to say, today I'm going to answer the question, how do we solve world hunger? Now, even if you don't have the actual answer, you've just got some suggestions, people are going to listen to the rest of that speech because they want to hear your ideas. So the first line, the first 30 seconds of your speech is always the most important. Start with something that's high impact and really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Guys, by the way, you're asking your questions. Please write them only once because I'm trying to get through all of them. Don't worry, I am reading. Isabella wants to know, what if you don't get people's attention when performing the speech or they laugh at you?
Well, this is an interesting thing. Isabella, I'm trying to read your mind a little bit. How do you know they weren't engaged? Did you do an audience feedback survey? Because a lot of my clients say to me, I'm very boring, I'm not a very good speaker, and I say, how do you know that? And they say, oh, well, I looked at their faces and they looked very bored. Well, next time you're at the cinema, which could be some time away, but next time you're at the cinema and you're watching a good film, stop and look back at all the faces, and everyone will look like this. They'll look like they're really bored, because actually when we're deeply focused on something, we don't pay attention to what our faces look like. We just kind of switch off. So I don't think your audience disengage with what you're saying. I would very much doubt an audience were laughing at you because they wanted to mock you or tease you. If an audience laughs at me, that's like, I've got a goal. That is brilliant. If I encourage my audiences to laugh at me. Sometimes you're surprised by that because you might not have seen it as something funny and they will have misinterpreted it in a funny way. Allow them to laugh. That's fantastic. But it's very, very unlikely an audience will be laughing at you out of any kind of meanness. I have never seen that in my career, so it's unlikely to happen.
And guys, if anyone's laughing at you, maybe laugh back at them, right?
Just join in the laughing. You'll have a brilliant time.
Yeah. Our friend Annabella Kiara Jayachandran would love to know, is it okay to improvise in your speech?
Oh, I encourage it. I totally encourage it. Sometimes when the adrenaline hits you in a good way, follow that instinct. As long as you come back to the end goal and the end conclusion, I encourage you to improvise a bit and shake it up a little bit. Anything that sounds too scripted is going to be a little bit boring and a little bit robotic and a little bit too much like a politician. And politicians have a very specific job with their communication style. If you want to improvise, if you feel like it's the right thing to do, go with it.
Do you think when we're making a speech, we should write the speech and then memorize it word by word if we want every now and then, maybe improvise? Or should we just have topics that we want to talk about or have paper in our hands and read from that every now and then, peek down and have a look at our notes? How should we do it?
It depends how advanced you guys are. I would have to see where you are at with this. My clients are normally at a relatively good level already. For example, for a TED Talk or a TEDx talk, you would never read off a piece of paper and you would never memorize a script. That is a surefire way to lose your place in all of this. Instead, if you are doing a 20-minute talk, and really nobody should be speaking for longer than 18 to 20 minutes, all you need is 6 points. And you just go, that's my introduction, move on to the next one, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. But just remember the structure. And if you really need a little prompt, a little card, there's little revision cards, I think they're about that big. One of those with 3 points on one side and 3 points on the other side, that's all you need. Don't try and memorize anything.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Anna Maria Alexandru would love to know, how do you make an interesting beginning to a speech?
I will go with a story or an opening line that grabs people's attention. So either go back to what I was saying about start with a shocking statement, or if you look at TED Talks, they will spend the first 2.5 minutes delivering a story that feels like it's completely non-related to the subject matter, when in actual fact they tie it back in. So I would always encourage a short story that demonstrates your point. If you look at a TED Talk by a lady called Amy Mullins, and it's called My 12 Pairs of Legs, before she tells you anything about herself, she just tells you a story that lasts, I think, under 2 minutes. So just go with that.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Right. Our friend Jamie Litton wants to ask you a question. And because you're a voiceover artist, I think this is very relevant. Do you have any advice for making sure your voice is clear?
Yes. Chew fruit gums. This whole section of your face is full of muscles. And if you wake up in the morning and you haven't stretched any of those muscles, you're going to be yawning and it's going to sound really bad. So, you go through the alphabet. Before I have to do a voiceover, you'll see me walking down the street to the studio looking a little bit mentally unstable because I'm going papi pupe, kaki kuke, tati tute, papi pupe. So get all of that moving. Cough, drink some water, get your breathing moving. Just do all of the exercises you think you should be doing, but breathing is the important one. So prepare yourself for clarity by slowing it down and getting everything low and comfortable.
Preparation is key, and to slow down is really important. I need to remember this as well, guys. It's not just
we
you.
all do.
I need to remember all the time that I need to slow down. Right. Abhai Daya would love to know, when you said keep body language, can you explain further what you meant by that?
When I said, keep body language?
I think at one point you were talking about body language. I think we were talking about the hands and gestures. Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by that? She wants to know.
So body language is anything that's non-verbal. So if you are watching TV tonight, put mute on. Just for a few minutes for me, and just watch it, whether you're watching a soap or the news, just put mute on and watch those actors just kind of do this. It's still actually quite interesting. There is still something going on. Now, when I see speakers who have brilliant speeches, but then there's nothing happening and they're talking incredibly passionately, but there's nothing for me to look at in the screen or what they're doing, It's a real kind of turn off. It's so disengaging for an audience. So make sure you are standing tall, make sure you're feeling comfortable, make sure you use your hands, use eye contact, and keep smiling. That's so important.
Our friend Lamia wants to know something, and I'm really keen to learn about this as well. Did you do public speakings as a student? Or when did you start? For example, when you were in high school, were you as confident as you are now?
As a kid, I wasn't confident. I wasn't not confident. What I would say is it was an exercise at my school that whilst everyone was working, we would have to come to the front of the class. We would have to read books out to the rest of the class. I don't know if still this happens. I'm incredibly old, so it probably doesn't. But I remember I would always get told off, and it was actually written in my school report once. I'd made it my job to try and disrupt the class by putting in all the funny voices and reading that book out loud as best I possibly could. And I loved it. I loved making my friends laugh, and I didn't care that I got told off. So that was what made me comfortable. I promise you, if you have a drama class or a drama club you are able to join, even if you don't like this stuff, do it. Because the clients I have now are the guys and the individuals that did not have drama at school, and they're very frightened of looking like a fool in front of a large group of people. The people who just even did like one school play have better understanding of an audience needs than somebody who doesn't. So get into that stuff as much as you can if you want to be good at public speaking later on in life when you're an adult.
Right, Susie, I can see a lot of questions referring to fear again and what happens when we forget part of our speech. For example, Maria wants to know. I think there's a general understanding that if you mess up a speech, for example, what I've just done here, I've been stuttering, is it the end of the world?
Guys, I cannot tell you this enough. No, I mess up all the time. And it's my job to do this, okay? I have clients who go, I have clients who stutter. I have clients who stumble. I have clients who freeze mid-speech. It doesn't impact who they are at all. And it shouldn't impact you. I know you might feel embarrassed. Absolutely, you might feel embarrassed, but no one's going to focus on it. No one's going to notice it. You're doing something that no one else is doing, and you should be proud of that. Embrace those mistakes, embrace those failures. It is gonna go wrong, but just know that it's gonna go wrong and see what happens. Have fun with it.
Anna Barbie says, I'm at a drama club. Congratulations. Do we have any other drama club people here? Any future actors? Please write them in the chat box as well. And in the meantime, Matej Milosiewski would love to know, what if we feel uncomfortable talking about a given topic? Thinking outside the box, always necessarily a good thing? Is it always a good thing to think outside the box?
Okay. I don't have much experience of this. If I'm asked to speak on something that I don't understand or I don't have an in-depth knowledge of, obviously I prepare so that I get all the knowledge I need to put into that talk. You don't need to know everything. You do need to know what you're saying in order to deliver it in a good way. It's unusual that somebody kind of throws something to you. Remember, there is nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, or here's my opinion, or I might not be on the completely correct with this, but here's my best guess. There is nothing wrong, because we're not looking for your knowledge, we're looking for your delivery. It's not about how much you know about a subject if you don't know that subject. It's about what is your expression here? How well do you get your opinion across, even if you don't have a very in-depth, detailed understanding of what you're being asked? And if you still don't understand, there's nothing wrong with clarifying. There's nothing wrong with going, can you clarify that for me? No one is going to lose respect for you if you clarify the question.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat box. We've got so many actors, and apparently we've got some people who've been in films. Wow.
Amazing.
We've got some famous people in our chat box. I acted in a movie, says Nadija Husetik.
Cool.
And Patricia wants to become an actress. Amazing and amazing. Right, let me ask you another question. How do you research for a speech?
I'm going to try and answer that quickly because I have to go in a few minutes and start speaking to my next client, but research is super important. Essentially, you approach the information like an audience member would do. So imagine that somebody has zero information and you've got zero information. Go back to that. How would I explain this information to an 8-year-old? So you can start with Wikipedia. Then you can start with who said what. Look at what other people are saying about that. And then play devil's advocate. If this politician thinks it's this way, why does the other politician think it's the other way? So look at all angles, work out what you are thinking, and then build on from that. But ultimately, you can do all the research you like. Do not overstuff the speech. Less is always more. I would rather have a really good, really clear 6-minute speech where I totally understood where somebody was coming from than a 10-minute speech where somebody just tried to show off how much information they had on a certain subject. That is boring.
Susie, thank you so much. Can our friends find you on social media? Do you have any YouTube videos from your TED Talk, anything?
So I should explain, I haven't done a TED Talk. My clients do TED Talks,
Yes.
but I was so happy to be advertised as a TED Talker. Yes, I don't know if you guys are on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Susie Ashfield. You can give these guys the spelling.
Yes,
But if
we
you
will.
have a question for me, you can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I am on Twitter, which is the slightly younger version, and my company is like this. I will try and spell it to you like this. It's Speak to Impact. And if you tweet me, I will get back to you like that, and I will answer any of your questions, guys. It might take me a little bit of time because there seems like there is a lot of you, but I will do what I can.
Susie, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have to go, please do. Thank you so much. This was an amazing interview.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Now. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care and good
Bye.
luck. Bye-bye.
So guys, let me tell you, please follow WeVoi from social media. Please join us in the competitions in the future. And if you want to join me as well on Instagram, on Twitter, anywhere on social media, I'm Yasmin Alice. Thank you so much for joining us today, and goodbye. Bye-bye, guys.